Ladies and gentlemen, do not be alarmed. A cynical Brit has been allowed on the air with a microphone. You will listen, or the kitten we have hostage will be forced to fight a giant badger. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a Blue Plz. Enjoy. Wow. Radio. Yes, indeed, folks. Welcome to Blue Plz. This is the talk show where we spend 2 hours talking about absolute and complete bollocks, and people seem to find it entertaining. That's always a good thing. Well, this is a truly historic occasion. Well, it's not really. It's sort of a minor cause for some kind of small celebration, you know, maybe involving a plate of sausage rolls and a glass of lemonade. Nothing special. This will be the last Blue Plz at the usual time. We're moving it. This is going, apparently, so I've been told by Athalis, don't know why, we're going to be the flagship show of the new European slots. Yes, we shall be starting European-friendly shows at European-friendly times. And Blue Plz is going to be the first of those. We're going to be moving to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's, of course, 7 p.m. British Standard Time. On a Sunday. So there will be a show on Sunday, and it will be every Sunday from there on. There are multiple reasons for this. Well, it's mainly because I can't keep up with the whole midnight to 2 a.m. showing thing. It's very silly. But I used to be okay with it. Not anymore. I got myself a job, which is nice because I can buy things and upgrade my computer. It's not nice because that means I've got to get up for work in the morning. Get up for work in the morning, well, not very pleasant. After you've done a show at 2 a.m, then you spend an hour uploading it, editing it, all that sort of stuff. Not nice, but, well, that's how it's going to be. Hopefully, also, we'll be having some more European shows. I know some of you may have submitted your demos. That should be awesome to see. That should be great for everybody. More shows, more DJs, more different perspectives to listen to. Excellent. Right, well, this is Blue Plz, as I just mentioned 3 minutes, 31 seconds ago. Just in case you'd forgotten. And we talk about things. And by we, I mean me. Unless you count the Murloc. But then again, the Murloc is, he's not really a person. He's sort of a pest that lives in the corner and occasionally makes himself known for 3 minutes of comedy features. And comedy features fill up a small portion of this show. Of course, we have Rap in the Forums, No Cake News, Ask the Murloc, the Imbecile of the Week, and our informative section, or as we like to call it, informative in the form of working as intended, where we get the audience to put their collective heads together and come up with solutions to problems that Blizzard hasn't necessarily thought of yet. But, as regular listeners will know, I usually start with something that is not necessarily World of Warcraft related, but there's often a tenuous link. A very, 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 very tenuous link to World of Warcraft. Usually it's got something to do with online gaming or general stupidity, or both. In this case, it's both. So, let's talk about teenage aggression. Why not? Fill a good 15 minutes of the show. Doesn't require much thought. Let's try it. Well, I read this interesting post on the World of Warcraft forums. And there are a lot of very interesting posts on the World of Warcraft forums. Unfortunately, they tend to be drowned in a heck of a lot more gibberish. Total rubbish. Absolutely ridiculous. And this guy asks, why the aggression in teenagers? Now, I'm not a big fan of generalizations. I really don't like them. Because, generally speaking, generalizations are rubbish. And yes, pick up the not-so-well-disguised irony in that sentence. Generalizations suck. Now, this guy called Bogger comes up with this theory. He says, it's known that the majority of players in WoW are between 14 and 18. Well, there's no actual proof of that since there's been no census, but it wouldn't surprise me. Online gaming in general, the majority are teenagers, which is fair enough. Usually teenage males, although it's becoming a case of, it's becoming more of a mixed genre with more girls getting into gaming, which is always a good thing. Now, he's basically saying that most teenagers online lack respect, common sense, seem to have major attitude problems in general. Yes. I would agree in some respects. But I would think the general problem with the internet itself is the whole thing of anonymity. Now, a while ago, a rather well-known comic and video game commentary site known as Penny Arcade posted the universal... I can't really say that on air. The universal word theory. And basically what it says was, the internet. Anonymity plus audience equals a raging moron. And it would be effectively correct in that assumption. Before the internet, the village idiots usually stayed in their villages. Now they are free to roam free. Free to roam free all over the internet and cause mayhem, havoc and general stupidity. Unfortunate, but true. You see it everywhere you go. Every time you log into World of Warcraft, you will see an idiot. And generally speaking, he will be being an idiot for the sake of it. Because he can. No one is there to stop him. Maybe it's a backlash from his repression as a child. Maybe he's just naturally an arsehole. However, you will find them. They are there, no matter what you say, what you claim. WoW is actually full of idiots. It's unfortunate, but it's true. It's one of the largest online games in existence. We just heard that WoW actually bypassed the 4 million subscribers mark. Very impressive. It also means, again, there's going to be a large proportion of idiots there. Large popular games generally attract lots and lots of idiots. You will usually find that less popular games have less idiots in them. And the idiot to normal person ratio is a heck of a lot higher. So you may have, 10 normal people and 1 idiot. Whereas in WoW you're more likely to have 5 normal people, 1 idiot. 4 people maybe. They're attracted to games like this. You will find them wherever you go. It's an undeniable, absolute truth. There are idiots in the game. So you're going to ask yourself, what can you do about these idiots? Why are they idiots? Why are they here? What are they doing? Why are they making a mess of our community? The unfortunate problem with idiots is that they tend to be the vocal minority, which is not what you want. As the vocal minority can shout louder than everybody else. Now, your normal, everyday people will be enjoying the game as intended. They will be in-game, they will be enjoying the game. That is why they are not on the forums. Forums has a bad rep, and the reason it has a bad rep is because people gather there who are not necessarily right in the head. They are totally and completely out of their minds. They're morons. Whether they wish to be idiots for the sake of being idiots or whether they simply cannot help it. They gather on the forums because it gives them a voice, and they can say effectively whatever they like without any kind of punishment. Occasionally they may get suspended, but it's not likely. Unfortunate, but true. These people are everywhere. And I think the risk, whether or not it's a real risk, or it's simply a risk that people have created in their minds, is that these people might actually be listened to by someone who matters. And by matters, of course, we mean Blizzard. If a vocal minority can scream loud enough, will Blizzard answer? It's been seen in previous online games. Large gaming communities have the vocal minority in place, and the vocal minority will often scream for something. Take, for example, something I bring up pretty much every week, and that's the game of PlanetSide. A game which was never truly balanced, and probably never will be. The reason that had problems is because you got the vocal minority whinging and whining about a certain thing. They may get killed in the game by a weapon that they thought, that's not fair, I got killed by this weapon. Let's nerf it. and they'd get people behind them. Hey, I got killed by this weapon as well. Yeah, nerf it. It's unfair, blah, blah, blah. And changes would be made. Now, whether or not you believe this is due to the fact that they shouted loud enough, or simply because they brought to attention a valid concern with in-game balance, is simply a matter of opinion. It's a matter of how much faith you have in the community as a whole. It's often also a matter of faith of how much community you have in the game producer itself. In general, you will find that when you get whinging like this, there will be people who come along and say, no, this is silly, here's why. They will produce a constructive criticism of the view put forward. A very constructive, very well put together piece of reasoned argument. And I would like to think that that is what Blizzard listens to. I have no evidence to the contrary so far. Has to be said. Blizzard have gone against a lot of the wishes of the players. I'm going to be coming on to the whole defense nerf later. And the idea of just who is right. Is it Blizzard? Or is it the community? Is there a vocal minority thing going on here? Obviously it's Warriors that don't like this change. But is it Warriors who simply want to keep that I win button? Do they want the game to be easy for them? So they can farm the fat loots, go home, hey, did Molten Core again, didn't take much effort, we just blasted through it, no problem. Follow the formula, everything went fine, as it usually does. We got the fat loots. Aren't we awesome? Or is it a valid and genuine concern? That's something we'll be coming on a little bit later on. Now, idiots. What can you do about them? Unfortunately, you will never get rid of them. I've never seen it happen in any game. No matter how hard the community has tried, no matter how hard the company involved in the game has stepped in, and usually they don't, idiots are paying subscribers too. You'll never fully get rid of idiots. So you have a few options. Either you can hold your faith in the company and the community to repulse the ideas of these morons. These people who come whining. And there is a difference between whining and constructive criticism, folks. As you should well know, a whine is something that is not backed up by any degree of evidence, reason, logic. Usually badly spelled, that is a symptom, but not necessarily so. And, of course, constructive criticism is just that. It is criticism that is constructive. It is well argued. It gives a balanced viewpoint of the particular issue. Very important. Very useful thing to have in life. But something which many people seem to lack. It's unfortunate. So I would have to say, constructive criticism is the way forward. I would hope that everyone listening to this show is quite capable of giving that. Because it's very valuable that people like yourselves do go on the forums, do get involved in the community, and do stop it from falling into the pit of eternal dank despair. Which is what is going to happen if idiots take control of this community. And it's dangerously close. Dangerously close. There's nothing Blizzard can do about it. It's up to you. You must go out there and you must twat an idiot on the head with the hammer of logic, common sense, and good old-fashioned reasoning. I'm sure you're quite capable of that, and I have all the faith in the world that you will go out and do that. Make me proud, I say. Right, okay. You're listening to Blue Plz here on WoW Radio. I'm going to play a little bit of Motorhead, and then we're going to get back with the working as intended and everything else that's on the agenda. Plenty more still to come here on Blue Plz. They call this the Ace of Spades. Enjoy.
Drop car.
Hey, I need help.
Double. That's not a bag.
Ladies, gentlemen, creatures of questionable gender. Is your luck with the opposite sex nothing short of a curse? Do you have a fashion crisis of epic proportions? Then salvation has arrived with a unique vendor selling all manner of trinkets and clothing. Introducing the World of Warcraft, a WoW culture merchandise store created by the fans for the fans. All manner of stylish items for the fashion-conscious WoW player at extremely competitive prices, with t-shirts starting from a ridiculously low $9.99. Head on over to www.cafepress.com/Warcraft and check out 40 product lines and over 1,000 different products.
Taboo!
Ogre's got a brand new bag.
That armor looks good on you. It would also look good on my floor.
I'll give you crazy love.
Broadcasting across the world and around the globe for Azerothians everywhere, ladies and gentlemen, this is WoW Radio. Yes, indeed, the sounds of the World of Warcraft ad, and all the money from World of Warcraft items goes to WoW Radio, which is a good reason to go and shop there. Right, okay, let's get back to the matter at hand. If you want to shout out on this show, got absolutely no problem with that. So send me a PM on IRC, and of course you can go there by wcradio.com, click the IRC chat button at the top of the screen. That shall take you to our chat room, which is filled with interesting people. Yes. I'm sure you can call them that. Anyway, shout out goes out to Luke, that's Night Talon, Tom, Pyromage, and Chris, 5ES in the UK. And apparently Chris in the UK should be hit repeatedly with a hammer of logic for doing bad in his GCSEs. Don't worry, GCSEs don't matter. It's irrelevant, absolutely irrelevant. Get decent A levels, get a uni, and get drunk for 3 years like I did and come out with a really rubbish degree. It's fantastic. Gotta love life. Anyway, yes. If you wish to complain about the music or anything else being done on WoW Radio, get out of the World of Warcraft chat room. You fools. Head over to wcradio.com, click the IRC chat button at the top of the screen, get into the WoW Radio chat room. That's #WoW Radio or #WoW Radio for you crazy Yanks. Yes, a shout-out goes out to Zataniel because he's sexy, apparently, so I've been told. A shout-out goes out to Frolier's Guild on Agamagagon. I can never pronounce that name. Crazy name for a server. Agamagagon. Yeah, whatever. I'm sure you're fantastic, whoever you are. And a shout-out goes out to my little gnome lover, Ticklebur. That's from Dustin, not from me. There is no gnome loving going out here. Evil little bastard. Anyway, right, I've blithered for quite long enough. Back to the topics at hand. For it is time for our informative, educational, and brain-teasing feature that is... It's working! Yeah, it's working! It's working as intended, baby! Yes. Still haven't quite changed the sound sample, it's still as disturbing as ever. It's the way to go. Right, working as intended is where we get your collective heads together and see if you can think of something that Blizzard hasn't thought of yet. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. We shall see. Yes. So, what's the issue? What's the issue this week? Usually we have something where Blizzard... There's a blatant problem in the game and Blizzard hasn't thought of an issue yet. Now, this is a little more subtle. You may not even necessarily agree with this point. But I'm trying to test your powers of reasoning and see what opinions you've got, because it's always interesting to have conflicting and differing opinions on this show, or any show in fact. So, I put forward to you the following proposition. In the past few patches, Warriors and Melee classes have received extensive buffs in the form of new equipment, which is, for better or worse, reasonably simple to obtain. Some of it is so simple that pretty much everyone has it. For instance, the Imbalanced Force, as people are calling it, which is getting nerfed, fair enough. The Unbalanced Force, the Lobotomizer, all the good Ultra Valley stuff, and of course, if you're in the mood for doing some serious work, the Blessed Blade of the Windseeker. Ouch. So, melee classes have received extensive buffing. However, it doesn't seem that reward-wise, caster classes are keeping up. So, I'm going to ask you this. Beyond the obvious of having items with more intellect and more plus damage, more spirit, etc., how would you integrate caster buffs into new quest rewards, legendary items, and instance drops. How would you do it without going down the path of the usual? As in, plus damage, plus int, plus spear, that kind of thing. Now, here's an example of something which is going to be happening in the new patch with the introduction of Zul'Gurub and the Arathi Basin. Plus 2 hit on spells. Now, spells never miss, we already know that. So, what I assume that means is it reduces the resistance of the target. A very interesting idea. It may work. It may work indeed. It may not. We shall have to see. How else would you buff the caster class in the respect of equipment? When you look at melee classes, they have a load of nice procs. And there's all sorts of different things you've got to consider. For instance, a slow attack speed means a bigger bonus from attack power. A higher max damage, a higher execute, a higher mortal strike, that kind of thing. A higher ambush. What would you do for casters? Now, some of you may not agree that casters are underpowered. I would not necessarily say that they are. All I can see so far is a slight imbalance in the way equipment is being doled out in the new patches. It seems to be very melee orientated. For instance, take for example the Elturate Valley equipment. The imbalanced force, as they call it. An obvious target for slagging off. Before that, of course, it was the Ice Barb Spear. Now it's the Unstoppable Force. The Unstoppable Force is as powerful as the Arcanite Reaper. No two ways about it. It has been proven. The Lobotomizer is not a bad dagger, by any stretch of the imagination. Neither is the Glacial Blade. So, they've got some nice weapons, but what do casters get? They get the Crackling Staff, which is arguably worse than the Trindlehaven, which is quite attainable from LBRS. There are no decent one-hander caster items. There are a few off-handers, but they're not especially good. They don't do anything to advance the caster class beyond its current sort of equipment setup. They're not viable alternatives, whereas for melee classes, the Unstoppable Force, the Immovable Object, the Glacial Blade, and of course the Lobotomizer, all very viable weapons. Is it the Bloodseeker? I believe it's the Bloodseeker as a reward for one of the Elturate Valley quests. Also a very valuable? No. A very valid ranged weapon. And of course, we had the Ice Barb Spear farce around a month ago. So my argument is that nothing has really been put forward to advance the caster class beyond its current standard cookie-cutter equipment setup. If you play a priest, there are a couple of routes you can go down. If you're playing a Shadow Priest, you may want to go down the stamina and plus shadow side of things, which you may want to go for Warlock equipment. If you want to go Holy, you may use plus healing, or you may go for the whole mana whore idea. Get as much mana as you can and throw it out in instances. That's about it. Other casters have it similar as far as their equipment setup goes. So, for this week's Worrying Is Intended, we want to know, how would you advance the caster class? Caster classes, even. Through the addition of new equipment. Whether it be quest rewards, battleground rewards, PvP honor rewards, or something else entirely, perhaps crafted items. It'll be interesting to see what you think, and we'll be reading the results of that out a little bit later in the show. If you want to know how to contact, how to get in, your interesting suggestions, head over to your nearest email client and email themurloc@gmail.com. That is themurloc@gmail.com. Now, before you do that, this has got nothing to do with caster classes being overpowered, warriors being overpowered. No, it's not a balance argument. We don't want any of that. It's not a case of whether or not they can get close, whether or not they can attack, kill a warrior, or the other way around. It's irrelevant. How would you advance the caster class through the addition of new equipment? That's this week's Working As Intended. Okay. I think it's time to play one of our features for today. This is a satire and sarcastic warning. Those who cannot handle satire, sarcasm, or things which are not intended to be taken seriously, please tune out right now. Time to introduce the first quote, comedy, unquote feature of the day. This is Nutcake News. Welcome to this week's edition of Nutcake News. Coming up later, our special expose on elite hacksaws and just how cool they really are. But first, an investigation is being held into the activities of trading card game manufacturer Blizzard after allegations surfaced that it claimed to know more about its own game than its players did. A shocking tale involving at least one sex scandal, multiple incidents of grievous bodily harm, and a small ferret was found to be totally unrelated to the story, and thus should be disregarded. However, it does seem at this point that Blizzard has engaged in nefarious schemes, such as knowing what they're doing and having a long-term plan. Clearly the domain of communist infiltrators, these activities are to be regarded with suspicion, afforded only to foreigners with beards and slovenly liberals. Citizens are advised to shoot on sight. A representative for the Gamers Alliance of New Killers Gank had the chance to speak to us but declined, complaining that his acne was giving him trouble, and instead issued the following statement. We regard the activities of Blizzard Corporation as racist and completely inappropriate for today's modern business environment. The very idea that Blizzard could even comprehend the remotest remote possibility that the absolutely unthinkable concept of knowing what you're doing is absolutely outrageous. The reason we pay for this game is to become walking encyclopedias on anything and everything to do with it, whether or not it has been released or not. As you very well know, every change made to World of Warcraft is absolute and cannot be reversed without the use of powerful, earth-shattering sorcery. Therefore, we would suggest that before Blizzard engages in any more of this terrorism, that they consult our experts as to any and all possible game changes immediately. If they want a more permanent solution, they suggest allowing the players to update the source code of the game as they see fit. This is sure to work. When asked to comment on just WTF they were doing, Blizzard President Fred What's-His-Face gave us the following message. Woo! When asked just what exactly that meant, there was a scuffling, what appeared to be some kind of physical struggle, the sound of shattering glass, and a readjustment of the microphone. The real President, Fred What's-His-Face, then gave us the following message. We are sorry for any inconvenience that any change made to the game which involved Blizzard in any way, shape or form and affects any aspect of play may cause to the paying customer. We assure you that we have the work experience guide chained to the desk, working on new exciting changes that require little thought or effort from our customers and do not change the game for any of them in any possible fashion. We are aware that offending our customers' playstyle and changing a game that rightfully belongs to them alone is now punishable by decapitation under new legislation. So we will be doing our utmost to comply with these new laws. Until such time, please accept complimentary bouncing bright-coloured balls as compensation. Whether or not Blizzard's distractionary tactic involving bouncing brightly coloured balls will succeed remains a mystery. We shall be keeping a close eye on bouncing brightly coloured balls. This has been Nutcake News. Good night. You're listening to the podcast and archive of Blue Plz. You can listen in live on Sundays at 17:30 GMT. That's 12:30 Eastern Standard Time with a lively musical pre-show kicking off 1 hour beforehand. If you like WoW Radio's productions, then make sure to dig our shows at dig.com and check out our website at www.wcradio.com. Ladies and gentlemen, do not be alarmed. A cynical Brit has been allowed on the air with a microphone. You will listen, or the kitten we have hostage will be forced to fight a giant badger. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a Blue Plz. Enjoy. Wow.
Radio.
Yes, indeed, the sounds of Rage Against the Machine and the classic Sleep Now in the Fire here on Blue Plz on WoW Radio. Head over to the chat room and you can join in the stupidity. That's all I can really call it. We're arguing as to whether or not mages need to be nerfed at the moment, which is quite silly. WCRadio.com, click the IRC chat button at the top of the screen. Here's a hint. Don't say that everybody who plays mages is gay. That's ridiculous, especially as I have banning powers. Anyway, welcome back to the show, although we didn't really go anywhere in the first place. Now, I probably shouldn't have said, yeah, you can have a shout-out on the show, because I've got a ridiculous amount of shout-outs to go through. But I promised I shall provide. Let's see, who wanted shout-outs? Young wanted a shout-out, but he didn't know why. Oh, you win. Fantastic. Shout-out to Shizzle Dizzle. That's from Widow, whoever the hell that is. Shout-out to P. Drizzle from Minnesota, Kill Jaidan. You win fabulous prizes. Shout-out to Bagua, the middle-aged fat man who just hit 60. Congratulations. Shout-out to all the UK people on the upcoming server that there's going to be a new guild coming, apparently. This is from James Searson. If you want to check that out, go to wow.notorious on irc.quakenet. Let's see. Shout-out to Finbar the Great. And shout-out to Shomes on the Shattered Hand server. That's from Eldrin. A shout-out to Nylan on the Dark Iron server. That's from Dishonor. Let's see. Who else had a shout-out? Yes, a shout-out to Strife, who apparently couldn't listen to tonight's show, and apparently he's a fool. That one comes from Jay. Loads of shout-outs here. This is crazy. A shout-out to Hotness, the horribly ironic female gnome warrior. That's on Zuljin. Shout-out to Chaos because I'm so elite sauce. Oh, dear. A shout-out to Aislinn on Shattered Hand. Add the Lords of Retribution on Kel'Thuzad because we totally owned MC yesterday. Congratulations. Right, that's enough bloody shout-outs for the moment. Bloody hell. I'll deal with the other shout-outs later. Right, okay, back to the topic at hand. Right, as you just heard in Nubcake News, that was about people who think that Blizzard doesn't know what it's doing. Now, some people think that I'm biased in favour of Blizzard. That is ridiculous. However, I don't see the business sense or the logical sense in biting the hand that feeds. Blizzard give me a game I enjoy and spend a lot of time playing, and Blizzard plug our radio station on their website from time to time. So biting the hand that feeds is not the most sensible and logical thing you can do in this world. I tend to find that when you're given a free lunch, you might as well eat it, rather than throwing it back in the face of whoever it was that actually gave it to you in the first place. However, WoW Radio is an independent organisation. We can and will criticise Blizzard if we feel the need to, but we won't do it for no apparent reason. Blue Plz particularly spends most of its time condemning whiners, so why exactly would I be a hypocrite and whine? Don't be totally and completely absurd, people. That's silly. So it's not a case of taking the side of Blizzard, it's the case of taking the side against morons. Unfortunately, Blizzard also happens to be on that side a lot of the time. So the side I end up on is the side that Blizzard is also on. Therefore, I'm accused of bias. Silliness. Insanity. See the logic behind my thoughts. Anyway, the point. This has been going on since the dawn of time. And of course, I don't mean the dawn of time. I mean the dawn of internet playable games. People start to play these internet playable games, and they will come to the conclusion after an obscene amount of playtime that they know the game better than the developer does. Not only is this highly unlikely, it's also incredibly arrogant. You have to bear in mind that when a company develops a game, they have people working on the long-term kind of plan. They have a vision of what they want the game to be. And generally speaking, they are not going to alter that vision for you, no matter how fantastic you think you are. Whether or not they're right in doing that is a matter of opinion. But there's not a lot you can do about that, because it's their game. I think that's a fair enough thing to say. Now, that doesn't mean that Blizzard or any other company involved in a game which is patched continuously and progresses and evolves from one stage to another is unaccountable for its changes. No, no, no. Companies make mistakes. Often. Sony Online Entertainment, a massive prime example. Made mistakes in every single game it's ever produced. Some of them almost game-breaking. Does it mean they were wrong in making the change in the first place? Yes, of course they were. It was a wrong change. Does it mean they were wrong in believing they could make the change? No. There's the difference. Games companies do have the right to make changes to their own game. No matter what you may say, what you may think, they're going to do it. Often, they will never call off a planned change, no matter how much people shout about it. For instance, bear in mind, recent patches have had bugs in them, and they've been released prematurely. Arguably, prematurely, when they should be. Now, you've got to look at it from Blizzard's perspective here. Look at it from your standard player's perspective, and you'll see, OMG, Blizzard are noobs, blah, blah, I'm quitting, except I'm not quitting. I'll just say I'm quitting. I'm an attention whore, you know, like people with live journal accounts that say they're going to kill themselves every day of the week. Just get on with it, for God's sake. Take the Linkin Park CD, snap it in half, and remember, Timmy the Razorblade says, down the road, not across the street. I think I'm going to hell after that comment, but never mind. Let's get on with the show. That's what your average whinging player will say. Look at it from Blizzard's perspective. They have a company to run and an online game which they must maintain. People leave this game every day. And one of the reasons for that is they get bored of it. This is inevitable. Absolutely inevitable in every single video game ever devised by man. Yes, even Leisure Suit Larry. You will get bored of it at some point. Now, the idea behind the MMORPG is that you've got to have a constant subscriber base, otherwise it fails. It fails on a financial level, it fails on a community level. You take the massive out of MMORPG, what is it? A subpar role-playing game. So you've got the problem. How do you stop people from leaving? You add new things. You keep people interested. How do you do that? With patches. What happens when you delay patches? More people leave. Business perspective. So, you're Blizzard. You have a choice to make. Do you release a patch with bugs in it? Or do you delay the patch and potentially lose players who get bored of the game? It's a toughie. It's a catch-22. You're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. An unfortunate position to be in, but the position that any MMORPG developer is put in every day. Can I feel sorry for Blizzard? No, I can't, because Blizzard make a lot of money. Their idea is to make money from selling computer games to us. We are the consumer. We must swallow what they provide, whether it be tasty or otherwise. So it's not a case of feeling pity for Blizzard, it's more a case of feeling pity for those who are incapable of understanding the perspective of the company. And this has been made very apparent indeed in the recent changes to Warriors proposed in the new patch. Oh dear, and oh dear. 33% nerf to defense. Did that annoy people? Oh yeah. Absolutely. Warriors, obviously. Warriors are the ones who use defense gear. Bit of a generalisation. I'm sure there's some other people that use the cloak of warding. I don't know, maybe a feral spec druid. But in general, Warriors got all the defense gear. A lot of guys in my guild use defense gear. They found it to be the most efficient use of stats. It was the best stat for tanking. Understandably so. So it comes down to a question of who knows best. Is it the community? Is it Blizzard? Is it neither or both? Well, Fundgot, one of the community managers on the European forums, posted an explanation about why the defense stat was lowered, or is going to be lowered. This is the explanation apparently that was given by the developers. I'm going to read this out for you if you haven't heard of it already. I quote, "The reason defense was reduced is because it was more powerful than originally intended. It is still the best stat to have if you are the primary melee damage taker. We are confident that tanking will not become significantly more difficult for warriors than it was before, nor do we feel that keeping tanks alive will become increasingly more difficult. Each item in the game has had stats points associated with it in a budget system." So apparently this is how they create their items. They have a budget, and they can't go over that budget for, say, a blue in comparison to an epic. Before the change, defense was going over the allocated budget. This was because of a miscalculation on our part, which led us to believe the stat was worth less than it really was. By lowering the defense stat on all items, we have brought the stat value back to where we want it to be. Key words here: where we want it to be. We want it. Strategic design plan. Long-term thoughts. In regard to raid encounters, we will continue to watch them closely and make adjustments as needed. We've been making raid encounters more manageable from a gameplay standpoint, and we do not feel that the defense change is going to make a drastic difference. In addition, we'll be performing further research on the public test realms to see how much of an impact this change will have on the game. And adjustments will be made where needed. Any adjustments will most likely be made to monsters, as we do not want to go over the stat budget again. Blah, blah, blah. Right. So what you have here, an explanation from the developers. Firstly, I would be thankful to the developers for actually giving you an explanation in the first place. They didn't have to. It could be the work experience guy being silly. Say, hey, work experience guy, you get to pick what we nerf this week. This week, I'm going to nerf defense, because it's funny and I'm not a warrior. Yay! Or maybe it's because they're telling the truth. It's a crazy concept. Absolutely insane concept to grasp, I know. It's madness, folks. They may actually be telling the truth to you. But this is their overall design perspective, and this is one of their design flaws. They are obliged to fix it, whether or not it is a buff to warriors or otherwise, and whether or not the change will be a nerf to warriors or otherwise. They're obliged to stay with their design standpoint and correct errors. This has happened in the past, mainly with fixes which have either nerfed or buffed a class. This is nothing more than a fix. Whether or not it is the correct fix is a different matter entirely. I'm not even going to pretend to understand how main tanking works, because I don't have a main tank. My warrior is level 19. I don't main tank anything. So I'm not going to comment on that. What I'm going to comment on is the fact that if Blizzard says they want to change this stat, neither hell or high water is going to stop them. They will change it, and if there is a problem, they will change it back. There are no magical incantations of ultimate sorcery required to change things back to the way they were. No, just a patch. It's only a patch. Just a patch. So if something goes wrong, they are quite capable of changing it. They have the means to change it. But why can't we grasp this simple fact? I'm not going to lecture you about these, even though I just have for the past 8 minutes or whatever. Yes, the community is a very important aspect to WoW as far as the design goes. Feedback from the community, massive influence on what the developers have to say. Would Zul'Gurub have even been introduced to the test server or the game? Would it even have been designed were it not for the community's demand for a casual quote-unquote raid instance? Maybe, maybe not. Would we have got Blackwing there? Would we have got another battleground in a different form? I don't know. I'm not Blizzard. But I can safely say I reckon the community was a very strong influence in those, and it will continue to be a strong influence until the day WoW dies. Is it too much to ask trust of a faceless corporation? Maybe. But it is only a video game after all. And in the end of the day, when you signed up to WoW, you signed up to a changing, evolving game. And that is exactly what you should be expecting. And at the end of the day, if all else fails, they can always change it back. And that's what I have to say on the defence nerf. Or fix, as you may wish to call it. You're listening to Blue Plz here on WoW Radio with myself, TotalBiscuit. That hour of the show coming up. Ask the Murloc rap in the forums. Some more of your suggestions on working as intended. And of course, the one and only Imbecile of the week. I want to play some Bad Religion. My favourite company? What am I talking about? My favourite punk band in the world. Possibly the only punk band I like in the world. It's called The Walk. Enjoy. You're listening to the podcast and archive of Blue Plz. You can listen in live on Sundays at 17:30 GMT. That's 12:30 Eastern Standard Time with a lively musical pre-show kicking off 1 hour beforehand. If you like WoW Radio's productions, then make sure to dig our shows at dig.com and check out our website at www.wcradio.com. Yes, indeed, folks. Very short break, not enough time for me to even run downstairs and get a drink. So if my voice goes the next 15 minutes, that's the reason. Some of you have been commenting on the fact that I sound slightly different to usual. That's because I went home. And the problem with me is, well, I have many problems, some of which I'm not going to talk to you about. But one of my problems is I pick up accents very easily. And I went home to Newcastle after living in Leicester for the past 3 years. I'll go home about every 6 months to see my family. But when I go home to Newcastle, I pick up the accent within a couple of days. So I might have a little bit of Newcastle twang, possibly. We aye, man. Biker Grove and all that bollocks. But yes. If any of you are having trouble understanding me, well, I apologise. Hopefully, the next couple of days, my voice will return to normal. In the meantime, however, you're stuck with it. I'm afraid. This is Blue Plz here on WoW Radio. It's about talking bollocks for 2 hours and playing various comedy features that some people find amusing and some people don't find amusing. One such person did not find our show amusing. That makes me sad. It makes me so sad. His name is Sissay. Or Sisay. Sissy. Hey. And he sent me some hate mail. I like hate mail, but I don't like hate mail that's got no effort put into it. I can't remember the last time someone insulted my heritage and had 3 pages of evil tirades. You know, I bite my thumb at you, sir. Plague on both your houses. All that kind of thing. Flaming in style. Unfortunately, no. It was baseless, pointless hate mail. And it accused me of all these wonderful things. Apparently, a few shows back I said EQ was not innovative. And I stand by that. It's not. Well, it was a bloody Dungeons and Dragons graphical. It was a carbon copy in many respects of MUDs which had existed for years and years before it. It wasn't innovative. For God's sake. The original MUDs, they were innovative. Dungeons and Dragons, that was innovative. EverQuest? No. It even used the same bloody stats as D&D. There were also various other comments. Have you... He was saying all these amazing things. Have you ever been into Molten Core, Blackwing Lair? No, I didn't think so. Yeah, I've been to Molten Core. Quite a few times. I know quite a bit about Molten Core. I read a lot about it. I've done some of the encounters. Didn't do very well, but I did some of the encounters. No, I haven't been to Blackwing Lair. But then again, when was the last time you actually heard me talk about Blackwing Lair? Or Molten Core, for that matter? It's like complaining that the person who's fixing your car is not well versed in carpet fitting. No. Blue Plz is about talking complete bollocks about various things. Often about the stupidity of the community, and apparently I'm not allowed to do that either. It's mean and unreasonable. Yeah. Insulting the community. No, I insult the idiots within the community. The idiots that ruin this community. Don't pander to them. Don't be sorry for them. They're morons. They ruin your gaming experience. When you go into a game and you get something ninja looted from you, or someone spams your yell or your trade chat with a bunch of gibberish, think about who your friends are and who you really should be supporting. So, I want proper hate mail. Insult me, properly. Don't come up with this bollocks that has no basis in fact. Insult me. themorloc@gmail.com for all your hate mail needs. And, of course, for our Working as Intended section today. It's working, yeah, it's working as intended, baby. Oh, dear. So the idea of Working as Intended this week is we wanted to know how would you progress the character group, as we'll call it. Not the character class, the character group of casters using items in the way that Melee has progressed with Alterac Valley rewards, the Honor rewards, and so forth. There have been a few suggestions. Now, Marco, also known as Aku, says, an interesting equipment bonus might be something that would allow X percentage of a spell to be added on top of the base damage/heal. This would buff casters both in instances and PvP. So if you had an item with the equip bonus of something in the likes of equip on hit, has a 2% chance of doing 5% more damage with a healing damage spell. So if a Mage's Ice Bolt, for instance, hit for 500, the equip procced, the total damage would be 525. Now this is something I was thinking of as well. The idea of caster proc. Now, caster procking exists in a very limited fashion. The Netherwind kit, for instance. If you have full Netherwind, can I remember my set bonuses? Well, I can access Thoughtbot and tell you. But this is a chance on cast bonus. Netherwind Regalia. Blah, 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 blah. Filling in time. Netherwind. Here we go. Now, if you have the entire Netherwind Regalia, which you don't, I can tell you that for a fact. If you do, you're lying to me. There is a 10% chance after casting Arcane Missiles, Fireball or Frostbolt that your next spell with a casting time under 10 seconds casts instantly. That is a big wowzer piece of bonus there. However, notice it is a caster proc. It is a caster proc brought on by equipment. Caster procs already exist in the form of clear casting, and I believe there's a few others. Yes, of course there are. Plenty of caster procs. But this is a rare example of a caster proc based in equipment. Admittedly, it requires the full Netherwind set, which you're probably not going to see in a million years. But it's certainly available. It's there. It's dangling in front of your face. So, caster proc based on equipment. Yes, I agree. It already exists in the Netherwind Regalia. For instance, the Dark Moon Fair card has one. Not very good, but it has one. So that's a reasonable idea for progressing the caster class through the medium of items. Now, do we have anything else? A random idea, here we go. James Neal, also known as Valseer, comes up with what he calls a random idea. Why did Blizzard not borrow from Diablo 2? With plus rank bonuses on items, in Diablo 2 the best sorceress build involved building a build around a specific move or type of moves. Why not allow mages to achieve higher skill ranks beyond the maximum level? Yes. Not a bad idea. So what you're basically saying is you can collect a set of equipment which will allow you to, say, take Fireball to rank 13. Which would be more powerful, have a bigger dot on it. It's not just a case of more firepower. It's a case of perhaps a slight decrease in casting time. Maybe a little bit more range. More damage on the dot. A longer chill effect, for instance, on a Frostbolt. A very good idea. This is the kind of thing we're looking for on this week's Working as Intended. We want your ideas. How do you progress the caster group of classes by using items beyond the usual plus damage and plus int? Now, Jamie Winstanley comes up with this idea. Well, the one item that doesn't get looked at as much is the wand. It could have a chance on hit abilities. So, again, procs. Procs on wands. Interesting idea. Never seen one of those before. Lots of good ideas coming in. Get them into the show and we shall read them out. Now, shout-outs, it was a big mistake. Absolutely massive mistake to actually ask people to give me shout-outs because my RC window is filled to bursting point with shout-outs. I'm going to try and get through as many as possible before the next section. So, now, GCSE failure Chris says this: Claire is a dirty-faced hoe bag. Oh, how horribly unpleasant of you. I'm not going to be insulting people over the radio very often, so that is the one and only time I will ever slander someone on air. Right. More shout-outs. More shout-outs. Loads more shout-outs. Right, all the horde on the European server of Blade Fist. This one goes out from Oxmate. Keep up the good work and gank the Alliance scum back. Woo. Woo indeed. Shout out to the Harbingers of War, a multi-server guild. That's www.harbingersofwar.com. That's from Cobra. Shout out saying that Tiax is a jackass who should be pulled into hell for his jackassness and be consumed by the fires of Shank. Hey! That's frightening. Willie Trapper wants to request a shout out to himself because he's the elitist rogue on Skull Crusher. So he says. So everyone go and gank Willie Tapper tonight just for the fun of it. Shout out to Night Viper in Gloucester, who will no doubt be listening to the archive when he wakes up. That's from Core6, who is reaching level 31 in WoW at the moment. I assume that's from his ult. A shout out to Super Cow, and Geo the Troll Priest from Burning Blade, and his guild One Vision, which is doing a great job in MC. Comforting shout out to all the warriors, they need it. So says Erogar. Moiran asks for a fertility blessing. No, I'm not going to give anyone fertility blessings today. Unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable behaviour. Anyway, loads more shout-outs, but I'll try and deal with those later. Ridiculous amounts of shout-outs. I should probably never tell people to give me shout-outs in the future, because this is just silly. Anyway, if you haven't had your shout-out, you'll get it later. Don't keep pestering me. You give me a headache and it makes me sad. Right. Just enough time before the next break to plug our sponsor, one of them. Guildportal.com. They're fantastic. If you go to guildportal.com, you will instantly have hot women attracted to you. Yes, you will. They will come into your room as you listen to this show, and they may stroke your hair. And for a small amount of money, may stroke other parts as well. Hot women. Lots of hot women. If you're a female, then hot men will come into your room and do exactly the same thing. And here's something nice about guildportal.com. For every subscription and subscription renewal, guildportal.com donates $1 to the Food for the Hungry and other humanitarian organizations. Fantastic. So you can subscribe to guildportal.com, the leader in guild hosting, and you'll be doing something for the starving children as well. Fantastic. You can be like Bono from U2. Brilliant. So yes, guildportal.com, the leader in guild hosting. Hopefully they're not listening to this show, but never mind. Okay. I think it might be time for a little bit of piracy. Yes, yar, a bit of piracy. There's a band called Running Wild, and they have a bit of a pirate obsession. This song is called Under the Jolly Roger. You're listening to Blue Plz here on WoW Radio. Enjoy. You're listening to the podcast and archive of Blue Plz. You can listen in live on Sundays at 17:30 GMT. That's 12:30 Eastern Standard Time, with a lively musical pre-show kicking off 1 hour beforehand. If you like WoW Radio's productions, then make sure to dig our shows at dig.com and check out our website at www.wcradio.com. Ladies and gentlemen, do not be alarmed. A cynical Brit has been allowed on the air with a microphone. You will listen, or the kitten we have hostage will be forced to fight a giant badger. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a Blue Plz. Enjoy. WoW Radio. Oh yes, the sounds of Running Wild with Under the Jolly Roger. fantastic. Yes, it is pirate metal. If such a thing existed, that would be it. It does exist. It's that. It's fabulous. Right, you're back on Blue Plz here on WoW Radio. Some people seem to be confused. They're in the World of Warcraft chat room and complaining about Blue Plz or whatever. No, if you want to complain about the show, you need to be in WoW Radio. That's hash WoW Radio for the Europeans, pound WoW Radio for the Americans. To get there, you type /join, hash or pound WoW Radio. That's where you need to be. That's where everyone else is. If you're not there, you're uncool. You're uncool. Really. Anyway, I just posted in the channel, and for the benefit of those not in the channel, and of course in the listening to the archives right now, of how many shout-outs I actually have to do. I posted a screenshot. If you want to see it, go to http://premium1.uploadit.org/totalbiscuit/omfghacks.jpg. That's premium1.uploadit.org/totalbiscuit/omfghacks.jpg. My entire arse here window is absolutely covered in requests for shout-outs, so if I miss your shout-out, that's why. It's being drowned in the ridiculous amount of silliness. Absolute silliness we're getting in here. But it's good fun. Now, I've got to thank Dark Legion, who's just posted the best pick ever. No two ways about it, there is no pick better than this. And if you want to see it, go to www.teamextreme, that's with an X, teamextreme.bluewav.co.uk/nerftb. TotalBiscuit is unbalanced and working as intended. Now, a few more shoutouts to get out before I get back to what I was supposed to be doing, which is discussing things that, like, don't suck, you know. So, shout out to all the Horde from Two Beard. He was just ganked in. Oh no, the Horde he ganked in Gadgetan on the EU server Zenadar. Evil, ganking, evilness. Ugh! Evil gankers of horrible doom. Damn Alliance. Shout out to Night Demons Guild, the Extreme Alliance on Dragon Blight. Bloody too many shout outs here. It's giving me a headache. Let's see. Shout out to Kurazi, the Elite Sorcerer of Tibia. That's www.tibia.com. I seem to recall that's another game. We can't advertise other games here. We love Blizzard. Or so people tell me. Shout out to Nimis, the Tally Leader, whoever he may be. Jamie says, Shamans aren't in by you, just suck, sir. Ah ha 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 ha. Sticky out tongue smiley. And apparently GCSE failure Chris needs a fertility blessing. He got kicked in the nuts by Hobag Claire. Ouch. How incredibly unpleasant. Ugh. Okay. Get back to what I'm supposed to be doing, which is a show. Oddly enough, I can't do shout-outs all show, although it would be nice and easy. I'm going to talk about things that supposedly matter. Now, we were talking earlier about who should have the final word on balancing and who should be listened to when balancing becomes an issue. Is it Blizzard? Is it the community? Is it a little bit of both? Ho-hum, he said. And this has come to the fore in the latest nerf request, and that's to the Blessing of Salvation. Those who do not know, the Blessing of Salvation is a paladin ability. I don't know much about paladins. I don't play Alliance. I have a pal, he's level 9. I don't have Blessing of Salvation. But Tigol, the Blizzard poster, has to be said, my favourite Blizzard poster, seems to come up with a lot of very sensible things. Has the explanation. He says this: Blessing of Salvation is an interesting spell. It's completely and totally meaningless in PvP. It's completely useless for soloing Paladin. It's a minor at best improvement in a 5-man PvE encounter. For a raid encounter where aggro management can determine the outcome of a fight, is an extremely powerful and advantageous spell. So, the Blessing of Salvation we're looking at a Fade style ability here. I'm just going to look it up just so I know exactly what I'm talking about before I continue. Blessing of Salvation, Thoughtbot, give me my blessing. Places a blessing on the party member, reducing the amount of all threat generated by 30% for 5 minutes. That is awesome. No two ways about it. That is great. Especially for my spam fire mage of doom that always keeps getting the aggro off the goddamn tank. So, it's an aggro reducing ability. Very handy. Very handy indeed in big raid encounters where, as Tiggle said, aggro management is the name of the game. So, back to what Tiggle was saying. He's saying that this is a major advantage in a raid scenario. Obviously, the one that's causing people the most trouble at the moment is the Blackwing Lair. And what I've heard of Blackwing Lair aggro management is a massive issue. And people wipe constantly because they can't manage all the aggro they're getting. And this isn't just from the bosses, this is the trash mobs we're talking about here. So, Tiggle puts it down and breaks it down to the issue quite nicely here and says, the core of the controversy surrounding the spell is, of course, that the Alliance have it and the Horde don't. Oh, noes! This happens so much. And in previous Blue Plzs, I've gone over the concept of balance. And it doesn't matter how hard I try, balance always seems to sprout a new head. Balance is like the Hydra that just won't die. Cut off as many of its heads as possible, new ones will sprout in its place. Balance is an almost impossible concept. But every game's developer must strive to attain it, because the community demands balance. Sometimes it's justified. I will never say that balance is not justified. Absolutely vitally important. But sometimes people use it as an excuse for their own failings. Perhaps they have not learned how to play their class properly. Perhaps their equipment is not quite as good as someone else's. They cry nerf. Perhaps they've simply not learned how to beat a particular class yet. They cry nerf. And when it comes to something that we have different, for instance, if the Horde has a different class or a different ability, a different item, different quests, it's a nerf from the Alliance. If the Alliance has that, it's a nerf from the Horde. It's nerf ping-pong. Backwards and forwards between the two sides. Nerf this, nerf that, nerf the side that isn't me. So there's a ho-hum here. Blessing of Salvation is the latest target of the nerf bat. And what Tiggle says here is very interesting. Very interesting indeed. And I applaud him for saying this. It's about time somebody said this, quite frankly. He wins prizes. Many prizes for this. Let me take a moment to state, this is what he says, that we do not expect all encounters to play the same for Horde and Alliance. In a perfect world, an occasional encounter will be easier or more difficult depending on whether or not you are Horde of Alliance. A good example of this is Magmadar. Some might argue that Magmadar is easier for the Alliance because of Field Ward. Some might argue that it is easier for the Horde because of Will of the Forsaken. At the end of the day, both Horde and Alliance can beat the encounter, and there is not a drastic difference in difficulty. There is a difference, but not a drastic difference. And that reminds me of Warcraft 2, another Blizzard game, as you should well know. The sides were almost identical. Almost. The units themselves were identical. The difference were the micromanageable abilities of casters. And there's where it got interesting. Because people in Warcraft 2, I was playing Warcraft 2 back when it wasn't even Battle.net edition. I used to play it over a null modem cable. I used to do direct dial to another person's machine, as in paying local rates to play a game with someone. An absurd concept these days. Absolutely ridiculous, but we did it. Back in the good old days when entertainment was bland and inoffensive. So, when Battle.net came out, it shocked me to learn that people believed that the game was imbalanced in favour of one or another, because surely both sides are the same. And while the spells and abilities are different, they're simply used in different ways. Before this, I had no concept of balance. I simply thought, well, okay, So, I can't beat that, let's try something else. If I can't beat A, I will use C to beat A. Then, they will use B to beat C. I will use D to beat B, etc, etc. Strategy, counter-strategy, counter. It's the way to go. Always has been. But balance became this issue, and especially as online gaming took off and it became very competitive against player versus player rather than player versus environment. You don't see a lot of balance arguments in purely player versus environment games. It's irrelevant. To a degree. It's certainly an issue, but nowhere near as big an issue as in a player versus player environment, because everyone wants the advantage. Everybody wants to be able to do certain things as well as everybody else. And if they can't, there shall be hell to pay. So, should Blessing of Salvation be nerfed? No, I don't agree. I don't agree with nerfing anything. I agree with simply buffing everything else to its level. Yeah, it's a really complicated thing to do, but nerfing things simply ends up with abilities that are next to pathetic. In a first-person shooter, you wouldn't continually nerf weapons just to try and get them into balance and end up having to fire 300 bullets at someone to kill them. Same principle in MMORPGs. Abilities are interesting because they are powerful. And they should stay that way. That's my view on the whole Blessing of Salvation thing. Right. I haven't got a lot of time left, so I better get on to another one of our features. You know him. You probably don't love him. No, I certainly don't. It's the one and only...
Ask the Murloc.
Well, that should have scared you and woken you up if I'd sent you to sleep with that little rant. It's time for Ask the Murloc. As the Murloc answers all your unfortunate newbie questions in his own inimitable style. Enjoy.
Ask the Murloc.
Dear Murloc, what is the difference between a PvP server and a PvE server?
It's you again, back for some pearls of astounding wisdom, are we? That'll be 100 gold each, for it is I, the Murloc, ha-ha! Come to take tribute to fruit baskets and tasty puppies for tonight's banquet, yes. Now to the matter at hand, here's the question. The differences between a PvP and a PvE server are obvious to even a brain-dead imbecile like yourself, who's clearly not read the frickin' manual. Player versus player is filled with witless, gibbering morons known as PvPers. They whittle away their ultimately pointless little lies, blithering about how they pawns are. All 10 noobs with their Uber kit and attempting to initiate courtship with any female avatar in sight. The PvE servers are reasonably similar to this. However, they are filled with so-called Care Bears who spend all day hugging and cleaning up after each other. Their pastimes include flower arranging and maypole dancing. There's also a third kind of server called RP, or Role Play, where they send the players too unstable to play with the rest of us. I've heard they dress up as animals and talk in ye olde English. Fools! Ha ha!
Ask the Murloc.
Dear Murloc, I bought a cat as a pet. Can I name it? Or is it only the warriors who can name their pet?
Oh yes, you are correct, my misguided young chap. Only warriors can name their pets. However, the problem is not your class, it's that everyone, including members of the animal kingdom, hates you. Perhaps if you dealt with your body odor, smartened up and stopped that disturbing twitch you have in your right eye, you might get somewhere. Once you've mastered being in the company of animals without them running away in terror at the sight of your smelly face, then you can move on to other creatures such as females, and by sheer balance of probabilities, at some point in your life you may get the chance to breed. At least, you would have, had the Murloc not poisoned your cheese sandwich. You have 6 hours to live. Ha ha!
Ask the
Murloc. Dear Murloc, I'm a mage and I want to know how to use spears. I've seen loads of mages with spears like Rod of the Ogre Magi. How do I get one too?
Ah, my dear, that is a simple question with a simple answer. Yes, they are using a well-known exploit known as OMFG Weapon Hacks LOLs, which allows them to use any weapon they wish, including this so-called rod. To enable it, you must go to your character select screen and delete your main character, so you can recreate it in Super Hacks mode. push your down cursor key, your right cursor key, and then your down cursor key again in rapid succession, and then press the A button. That should enable Super Hex mode and allow you to use spears. Now I must be off. My good friend Fiskard von Dingleberry is coming around tonight for a spot of tea, which is a perfect opportunity to beat him senseless with a shoehorn and steal his wallet. Till next time, fools! Ha ha!
Ask the Murloc.
You're listening to the podcast and archive of Blue Plz. You can listen in live on Sundays at 17:30 GMT. That's 12:30 Eastern Standard Time, with a lively musical pre-show kicking off 1 hour beforehand. If you like WoW Radio's productions, then make sure to dig our shows at dig.com and check out our website at www.wcradio.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, do not be alarmed. A cynical Brit has been allowed on the air with a microphone. You will listen, or the kitten we have hostage will be forced to fight a giant badger. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a Blue Plz. Enjoy. Wow.
Radio.
Yes, indeed, the sounds of Run DMC. It's like that, and that is the way it is. Yes, some people didn't like that song, but I don't really care. It's filler music, folks. And it's quite appropriate when it comes to topics we discuss on Blue Plz. It's like that, and it bloody well is the way it is, and it's not going to change no matter how much you bloody whine about it. So take a hint and stop whinging, you foolish mortals. Calm down. It's all going to be fine. Right, okay, we've got some more stuff on Working As Intended. Ooh, interesting stuff here. Now, the question for Working As Intended this week is, how would you progress the caster group of classes via the introduction of new items, in the same way that melee classes have perhaps progressed through the addition of the PvP rewards? Kevin Kobe comes up with the following statement. Maybe have items spawn mana potions and regen potions of water over a period of time. Possibly. The Lay of the Lilies already creates a lily root, and I believe there's also an offhand item that you can use as a drink. But spawning items, interesting. Perhaps able to conjure items and have a stack of these things. Not a bad idea. Now Gubrath says this. How about a new spell that can only be obtained by the use of an item, or instead of a new spell, add a talent point or two when the item is used? Ooh, risky ground there. You see, especially with mages, you will find that they've quite carefully balanced the talent trees. For instance, you cannot have an end tree talent and presence of mind. Can't be done, it's not allowed. Unless, of course, you go full arcane. I would have loved to have combustion and presence of mind. That would have been highly unpleasant. The ability to instant cast a 100% crit chance pyroblast at someone. Unfortunately, I think Blizzard sort of thought ahead there and thought, no, that's a silly idea, can't do that. So whether or not adding talent points to items is a good idea, considering that balance issue, is a different matter entirely. But perhaps the ability to buff an existing talent slightly above its allowed maximum, rather than adding new talent points entirely. Now, Panda comes up with the old chance on spell hit effect. Yes, I agree with this chance on spell hit effect. In fact, I think it's probably the best way that caster items could go in their current shape and form. Chance on spell hit. We've got chance on hit, why can't we have chance on spell hit? We already have it in the form of clear casting, and in the Netherwind Regalia set, and possibly in the other sets. I haven't quite checked that out yet. These effects exist, but they're not on items. There are loads of procs on melee weapons, but never on caster items. Why is that exactly? Perhaps it's time to introduce those into the game. That would be an interesting way of progressing the character class. You could, for once, build your build around your weapon setup instead of simply using your weapons as a way to buff up your int or your spell damage, which, let's face it, is the way they're currently used right now. Right. Some very interesting suggestions. You have another 25 minutes of the show to get your suggestions in for Working As Intended. If you listen to the archives, you can't do it, I'm afraid. No, won't be allowed. all done. You'll have to wait till next week, which of course will be on Sunday. Moving to the European slot. Friendly for my sleeping patterns and friendly for those in the European Union, as they call it. It's just Europe, really. Bunch of countries. Don't really like each other very much. And hopefully, as it will be on Sunday in the afternoon, it'll be fine for those listening in America as well. It will be 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. British Standard Time. It's the way to go, folks. Right, a few more shout-outs before I get on with the next feature, which is, of course, Rapping the Forums. Please say hi to Hurton? Yes, Hurton in Worcester, UK, playing on a US server. Oh, you poor thing. Why would you do a silly thing like that? Please shout out to Aaron, my good friend who ninja looted my Ember Stone in Diamol. Thanks, James, who's just reached level 23 mage. Well, I hope he didn't reach level 23 before he went to Diamol. That would be really silly. Right, are there any more shout-outs? There's loads, but there's too many. Shout out to Thruka, captain of the Chaos Moon role-playing guild on Earthen Ring. Thanks, fellow English person. Always happy to oblige. Mild says a shout out to the Nine Council, whoever they may be. Right. Yes. Lots of things. Right. Anyway. Rapping the Forums. Always the feature I find that gets the most feedback, whether it be positive or negative. Some people don't get the absurdity of the whole thing. The idea of Blue Plz. Blue Plz is an ironic name, by the way. It's an antidote to the whinging and the endless hardcore raid discussion, endgame content, that kind of thing. And sometimes we have to do things which are just utterly absurd. And Rapping the Forums is one of them. The idea is we take really badly written forum posts and we turn them into raps. We put them to a beat and see what happens. And often they sound better as raps than they do in written form. So, time to introduce the much loved, much despised Rapping the Forums. Yo, yo, faux shizzle and all that jazz. Groovy, yes. It be hip, it be rapping the forums. It's part of the show where we take terribly written forum posts by people that we really don't care about and turn them into atrocious raps for your general consumption and terror. Okay, let's get right on with it. The first one coming up from the lovely Lucifer X, level 60 Orc Rogue. He's in Blackrock PvP, and his realm is Agramar. And it's entitled Akuno WTF. Ah yes, drop it like it's hot. It's a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. So I'm running UBRS late Saturday night with the pickup group. And by the way, it was a very good pickup group. Everyone moving along very smooth until Watchy Friend, for the first time in my about 15 runs through there, the sacred charge drops. Keep in mind, loot rules were discussed. ... and a ... Typical roll on all PoE/pass, on all PoPI pass, as I thought everyone else did, and say, I really need that sword, and then hit the random roll at 92, only to find that Akunu, the only other rogue, already was the only one who did not pass and won it. WTF ... He proceeds to apologize like crazy and claim that he's not a ninja. Then he brings up the trade window and attempts to give me 20 gold to compensate. I think to myself, ... and a ... this is gonna be a joke, and I cancel it, not accepting the 20 gold. I attempted to be as calm as possible to keep the integrity of the group going so we could at least take out Drac, which we did not. I tried to pass it off as this guy must not rate as this is very much a not understand what pass on all BOPs means. ... He later continues to apologize and claims he's not a ninja. ... To which I respond, ... He I really wanted that sword, and 20 gold doesn't even begin to cover how much that sword is worth. To which he responds, ... and a ... brackets. And this was the kicker, close brackets. But 20 gold was all I had in here, I know. I have the Darwin set on my main 60 Hunter Ruffle. How could you possibly have two level 60s, one of which dual wields the sword, and not know enough to pass on this or to allow the fair random roll, especially when loot rules were clearly established and you were in the red when they were discussed and truly tried to let this go, ... but I just can't, and I need to know if you are either A, a ninja, B, not too bright, or C, 9 years old. But most of all, I would like to know who your main is, so I know not to group with either of you from now. Also not sure if this is a common knowledge, but Yin Yang, who was also in the raid, revealed himself to be a gold farmer, an injured, an SC belt from someone else who won it fair and square. Don't group with him. Finally, anyone who knows me in game probably would tell you that I'm a good guy and a mature player. ... So please don't flame this thread or correct my grammar or any of that BS, unless you are a cooner who I am dying to hear from. Our next one was supplied from an undisclosed source. Oh noes. That's clearly street. And down with the swirl. So here we go. The unnamed person with the unnamed rap. Yes. It's a 5, 6, 7 and a 2 and a 4. Puff! Pathetic number attack ally on grind place. Blah blah blah. My shiny purple the first time I ever saw your ugly face. Oh, Peth was in time when I was bandaging myself on 500 hit points and you killed me. You are to pro, you are to imber gank, you are to my hero. But keep that in mind, fella, next time I won't stop killing you after the 4th time, but I will continue until you log at OG and wisp me. That's 3 hours camping is too much for even you, cause the only thing you do in time is killing people on 10% or less HP. The only word I can say about you is pathetic. Loser, actually, that's 2 words. That's back at. Before whining against people killed you when you grind, ask yourself why. With all the respect I had for your guild, obviously your guild don't have respect to anyone else. Anyway, I changed grind spots and now I kill some mobs in Hearthland. You got some Orc Warrior Dynamo. Okay, I kill a mob. He kills a mob. Warrior on 50% is an easy target, but I'm not a lame ass to attack people when they are grinding, and definitely hate to attack on low HP, less CP. But Amber Sinbo charge me when I'm on 50% with Elite Mob on my ass, and I guess what? He's so lame, he couldn't even kill me. Slash Golf Clap Dynamo. You're the one that the lamest Horde Warrior I've ever met. And next time we meet, I will not be on 50% HP slash spit. Spacker, nothing personal, I just hate people doing stupid things. Cheer to Rind and some pal fellas that actually are not immature kids in the middle of the puberty and know when to fight, where to find and how to fight. We are PvP server, yes, but you will probably know what are the results of interfering on these grind spots. If I can't grind, you won't grind for sure. Cheers. Oh, I knew that would bother some people. Some people like rapping the forums, some people hate it. I couldn't honestly care less. It's silly! And that's the whole point of it. Now, I've been requested to say something. Some people seem to have this crazy idea that I look like Kenny Craig from Little Britain. They may be right, they may be wrong. Has to be said, the picture on the WCRadio.com site under the store, the staff link, is not how I usually look. I don't usually wear a bow tie, dinner jacket, have, perfectly slicked back hair, etc. Now, Ruger asked me to say, look into my eyes, not around the eyes, look into my eyes. I don't know why. I assume it's a Little Britain reference. In fact, I know it's a Little Britain reference. So, I am now Kenny Craig. You are on the air with Kenny Craig, and this is the Blue Plz show. And I'm hypnotising you into thinking that it's a great show. So look into my eyes, not around the eyes, look into my eyes. You are now hypnotised. For the next 2 hours, or for the last 1 hour 45 minutes, you believed you were listening to a fantastic radio show. It was brilliant, and you want to tell all your friends about it. Yes. So, right, I have very, 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 very little time left. And this is, of course, the last Blue Plz at this time. Yes, it's a sad day, but we are moving to Sundays. 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. British Standard Time. That's the way to go. Have I got any shout-outs? I've got loads of shout-outs. but quite frankly, I just don't have time for them all. I've got one last thing to... Oh, yes. Al Fugley has been pestering me for the last half an hour to say hi to all the Nathersm players that are on Paladin. There you go, shout out for that. I might have to stop the shouting out, it's just crazy. Way too many people asking for shout outs, but it's cool. Anyway, one last thing to do, and that's of course the Imbecile of the Week. We all love the Imbecile of the Week. It's the Imbecile of the Week. Yes, indeed. It's where we try and find the silliest person on the forum and showcase their stupidity to the world. In this case, we found a very classic "You've been scammed" post. This is a big lesson in don't try to circumvent the system or you will get screwed. I'm going to post this in the chat room for your general consumption. There we go. It's been posted. You can read it. Or if you're listening to the archives, you can't read it. Tough, I'll read it out for you. Idgy, a level 60 gnome mage. She's from the Fire Tree realm. OMG, I got scammed. So I want to play a warrior. I'm a little tired of playing my mage, so I thought I could trade accounts with someone with a warrior. First mistake. So I ask in Ironforge if anyone wants to trade by mage who has full Magister set and good trinkets, great bags, basically all set up. Second mistake, you told them how awesome your character was. I asked a 50+ warrior as a trade, and Mara, Fire Tree Alliance, says she will trade her warrior to me, but she just wants to log onto my account first because she didn't want to get scammed. And check what gear I said I had. Third mistake, could have blatantly inspected you to find out what gear you had. But no! Like an idiot, I said okay and gave her my information. You gave someone your login information. You blithering idiot! Well, she sold everything. That's a surprise. I had in my whole vault all my bags, my full Magister set, everything. Now I have nothing except an empty backpack and 3 copper. Don't be stupid like me. Trust no one. Especially not that scammer man. No. It's not an issue of trust. It's an issue of common sense. Stop being a moron. If someone goes up the street, excuse me, I would like to inspect your wallet. Would you realistically say, yes, I will give you my wallet. I will let you thumb through my wallet. In fact, I shall turn my back just to respect the privacy of your wallet searching. No! Ah! How could someone be that stupid? How can they be that naive to trust anyone on the internet? As you well know, the internet is full of evil people. It's the internet. Where the women are men, the men are boys, and the boys are FBI agents. No! No, 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 you silly little man. I'd say it's righteous retribution from God for playing a gnome. Yep. Little gnomish bastards. Anyway, I've just about run out of time here on Blue Plz. Thanks for listening to the show. The next time you hear me, I'll be in crazy European time. Ooh, scary thought. You've been listening to Blue Plz. It's been 2 hours of me blithering for no apparent reason. Get over to wcradio.com. Leave your feedback on the forum. Send me some proper hate mail to the Murloc@gmail.com. Proper hate mail. Thanks to the people who've been drawing pictures. Sorry, but TotalBiscuit fan art is a little bit disturbing. Thanks to Corsix for his amazing Python-style animated evil gif of Doom. You do win prizes, has to be said. You've been listening to Blue Plz. Shows for the rest of the week. The Downtime Down Under starts at 9 AM. Bright and early. Eastern Standard Time. That's tomorrow. 6 hours of quality music. It will be the last time I'm doing my request section. However, Ironforge, the metal show, will stay intact. Someone else will be taking over the request section next week. But this week will be my last request section. Well, of course, the Ironforge metal show will remain. Wednesday, Know Your Role with Medros, the midweek review and all your role-playing needs. Thursday, of course, it's the Town Hall. Now with Eldrick minus Leto, unfortunately. He's got school issues. Saturday, the one and only Saturday Nights with Athelis. Tune in for that. Sunday may or may not contain Blue Plz. Probably will. Blue Plz at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. British Standard Time. I've just about run out of time. Go out on something absolutely, completely epic. Gotta be done. If you like your epic, tune into the Iron Forge Metal Show tomorrow. That's at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's 6 p.m. British Standard Time. You can work out the rest yourself. This one goes out to any and all people who plan on attending the Iron Forged Grand Day Out. And if you want information about that, to go and see Dragon Force live, wcradio.com. All the information is there. This one goes out to everyone that's ever requested Dragon Force. They shall receive. It's the heart of the dragon. Thank you for listening, folks. It's good night from me.
You've been listening to the podcast and archive of Blue Plz, one of World of Warcraft's longest-running podcasts and shows. You can check out all of the shows at wcradio.com. Be sure to dig us at dig.com if you like what we're doing, and rate us on iTunes. You can, in fact, download all of our other shows at wcradio.com. Click the downloads button at the top of the screen, and feel free to get involved in our forum community, also available on our website. Thank you for listening.